The transport shuttle's landing struts hissed against the platform at 0247 hours. Kellen Reeves shouldered his pack and descended into what should have been an empty station, just another anonymous return from 6 months mining asteroids in the outer reach. But someone was there to IT first. He thought it was a trick of the dim emergency lighting. A figure slumped on the far bench, motionless. Kellen's hand moved instinctively toward his sidearm before his eyes adjusted. IT was a woman, not human. Her skin held that faint luminescence typical of the Varani people, like moonlight trapped beneath silk. Her hair fell in dark waves across her face, and her fingers were locked around a data slate that cast a pale blue glow across her features. His name was on that screen. Kellen Reeves, expected arrival. 0230 standard. He approached slowly, boots echoing in the empty concourse. Miss? The station's closed. You shouldn't, she didn't respond. As he drew closer, Kellen realized her chest was barely moving. Her lips were parched, and dark circles shadowed her eyes. Christ. He dropped his pack and reached for her shoulder. Miss, can you hear me? The moment his fingers touched her skin, she collapsed sideways. Kellen caught her before she hit the floor, his heart hammering. Her body was warm but limp, and when he pressed 2 fingers to her throat, her pulse was thready and weak. He slapped his comm medical emergency. Platform 7. I need a med team now. While waiting, Kellen cradled her against his chest, her head lolling against his shoulder. The data slate had fallen from her grip, and when he picked it up, he found more than just his name. There were logs, dozens of them, each one time-stamped across the past 3 days. Hour 6, he'll come. The bond is certain. Hour 19, station security asked me to leave. I told them I couldn't. Not yet. Hour 37, I'm so tired. But if I sleep, I might miss him. Hour 68. Please. Please let him be safe. Kellen's throat tightened as he scrolled through desperate entries written by someone he'd never met. The medics arrived in a rush of white uniforms and scanner lights. They loaded her onto a hover gurney, checking vitals with practiced efficiency. Severe dehydration, one reported. Exhaustion-induced syncope. Looks like she's been here for days without proper rest or nutrition. Will she be okay? Kellen asked, surprised by the urgency in his own voice. Should be, but she pushed herself to the absolute limit. The medic gave him an odd look. Must be someone important to you. I don't even know her name. The medic's expression shifted to confusion, but Kellen was already following the gurney toward a medical bay, that data slate still clutched in his hand, those desperate words burning in his mind. The bond is certain. What bond? The medical bay smelled of antiseptic and recycled air. Kellen sat in a chair beside the treatment pod, watching the woman's face through the transparent panel. The medics had hooked her to N4 drip, and color was slowly returning to her cheeks. Her eyes opened suddenly, focusing on him with startling intensity. They were violet, deep and luminous, like amethyst catching light. For a long moment, she just stared, and Kellen saw relief flood her features so completely that it almost looked like pain. You came, she whispered, her voice rough. You actually came back. Before he could respond, she reached through the pod's access port and grabbed his wrist. Her grip was surprisingly strong for someone who'd just woken from collapse. Her fingers were warm, almost feverish, and where they touched the skin, Kellen felt something strange, a tingling sensation that ran up his arm and straight to his chest. Easy, he said gently, covering her hand with his. You need to rest. You nearly died waiting for her. He paused. Waiting for me, apparently, though I don't understand why. The bond, she said, as if that explained everything. I felt it form 6 months ago, when you left. I thought I was going mad at first. My people don't bond with humans. It's unheard of. But there it was, burning in my chest like a second heartbeat. Kellen pulled the chair closer, his practical mind wrestling with her words. I'm sorry, but I think there's been a mistake. I've never met you before tonight. I would remember Deck 9, she interrupted, the night before you shipped out. I was working the late shift at the loading dock. You helped me lift a cargo container that had shifted wrong. You didn't have to. Most people wouldn't have. But you saw I was struggling, and you just helped. The memory surfaced slowly. 6 months ago felt like a lifetime. But yes, there had been someone. He'd been rushing to make his transport, had seen a dock worker trapped beneath a container that was threatening to crush her equipment. He'd helped realign it, made some joke about safety regulations, and then rushed off to catch his ship. That was you. She nodded, still gripping his wrist. Among my people, a bond forms when someone proves they will return, even when they have no reason to. When you helped me, I didn't expect anything. But then I felt it, the certainty that you would come back. It made no sense. You were leaving for the outer reach. The odds of return are barely 40%. 52% actually, Kellen corrected automatically, then shook his head. But that's beside the point. You waited 3 days because of a feeling. Her violet eyes held his. Not a feeling, a knowing. My people bond only once in a lifetime, Kellen, and we bond with those who prove their nature through action, not words. You risked missing your transport to help a stranger. That selflessness, that reliability, it triggered something in me, something I can't control. Kellen's implant suddenly flared with warmth against his temple. The standard neural interface, every asteroid miner, Carey began displaying readings he'd never seen before. Biometric data, but not his. A pulse reading that matched exactly the rhythm he could feel in the woman's wrist. What the hell? He touched his implant, and the sensation intensified. It was like his nervous system was reaching out, finding her, recognizing her. You feel it now, she said softly. The resonance. It doesn't matter that you don't understand it yet. Your body knows mine. Your heart beats in time with mine. She was right. Impossible, insane, but right. Kellen could feel her pulse as clearly as his own, could sense her exhaustion and relief as if they were his own emotions. I still don't know your name, he said finally. Thera. A small smile touched her lips. Therave. Thera. He tested the name, and it felt strangely familiar on his tongue. You should have just sent me a message. You didn't have to nearly kill yourself waiting. Messages can be ignored. The bond required presence. Her grip tightened. I had to be here when you returned. To prove it wasn't just my imagination. Kellen looked down at her joined hands, her luminescent skin against his weathered, scarred fingers. Against all logic, he didn't want to let go. Well, he said quietly, I'm here now. Thera's eyes closed, and the tension finally left her body. Yes, you are. 3 days later, Kellen sat across from Dr. Elena Voss in the station's xenobiology department, while Thera perched on the examination table, looking remarkably recovered despite her ordeal. This is unprecedented, Elena said, studying the holographic displays hovering between them. The scan showed 2 sets of neural patterns, completely different in structure, yet synchronized in rhythm. The Verani bonding phenomenon has been documented, but never with a human subject. Our neurologies are too different. And yet, Kellen gestured to the scans. And yet, Elena confirmed, your implant seems to have created a bridge. It's reading her bioelectric signature and synchronizing your autonomic responses. Heart rate, breathing pattern, even REM sleep cycles. You're becoming physiologically linked. Thera spoke up, her voice steady but quiet. Among my people, this would be celebrated. 2 souls finding each other across impossible distance. But I know humans view it differently. Kellen met her eyes. Over the past few days, they'd talked, really talked. He'd learned about her life working the docks, her family back on the Verani homeworld, who she rarely saw. She'd learned about his career mining asteroids, the loneliness of deep space, the way he'd stopped forming attachments because relationships couldn't survive 6-month deployments. I'm trying to understand, he said honestly. You're telling me that you've imprinted on me? Like I'm your soulmate. It's not so simple. Thera slid off the table, moving to stand beside him. This close. Kellen could feel that strange warmth again, the sense of rightness that he'd been trying to rationalize away for 3 days. A bond doesn't force love. It creates potential. It means we're compatible in ways that go deeper than personality or attraction. But what we do with that? She hesitated. That's still our choice. Elena cleared her throat. I should mention, If you want to sever this connection, we might be able to do it. Reprogram the implant to filter out her biosignature. It wouldn't be pleasant, and I can't guarantee success, but no. Kellen said immediately. The word surprised him, but once it was out, he knew it was right. That's not. I don't want that. Thera's hand found his shoulder, and the touch sent electricity down his spine. You're sure? Kellen, you barely know me. I won't trap you in something you don't want. He turned to face her fully, searching those violet eyes. 3 days ago, I didn't know you existed. Now I can feel your heartbeat when you're in the next room. I wake up knowing whether you've slept well. When you're anxious, I feel like a stone in my chest. He caught her hand, threading their fingers together. It should terrify me. Maybe it should make me angry. But instead, she prompted softly. Instead, I don't feel alone anymore. The admission cost him something, but it was true. I've spent years convincing myself I preferred solitude. But this bond, this connection, is like coming home to a place I didn't know I'd been searching for. Thera's breath caught, and Kellen felt her pulse spike against his skin. Without thinking, he reached up and cupped her face, his thumb brushing her cheekbone. Her skin was warm silk, and when she leaned into his touch, he felt the gesture echo through their connection. We should take this slowly, she murmured, but her body was already swaying toward his. Probably, he agreed, not moving away. Elena discreetly began gathering her equipment. I'll just leave these scan results here. You two should discuss what comes next. The bond will continue to strengthen unless you actively work against it. Neither of them acknowledged her departure. Kellen was too focused on the way Thera's lips were parted, on the rapid flutter of her pulse that matched his own racing heartbeat. Kellen, she whispered, we're not bound by obligation. You understand that? I won't hold you to something you didn't choose. I know. He drew her closer, their bodies fitting together with an ease that defied the fact they'd only known each other a few days. But maybe I'm choosing it anyway. Maybe I want to see where this goes. Her hand slid up his chest, coming to rest over his heart. It goes deep. Varani bonds aren't temporary. If we commit to this, truly commit, you're mine for life. And I'm yours. For life, he repeated, testing the words. A month ago, they would have terrified him. Now, with Thera in his arms and her heartbeat singing against his own, they felt like a promise instead of a threat. Show me, he said. Show me what this bond means. Thera rose on her toes, her breath warm against his lips. It means this. When she kissed him, Kellen felt the bond flare to life between them. Not just an echo of pulses, but a complete merging of sensation. He tasted her relief, her desire, her desperate hope that he would choose this. Choose her. And she must have felt his answer in return. Yes, yes, always yes. They broke apart, gasping, foreheads pressed together, two hearts beating as one. My quarters, Kellen managed. We should. Yes, Thera agreed, already pulling him toward the door. We definitely should. Kellen's quarters were modest. A sleeping alcove, a small living space, everything designed for function over comfort. But when he palmed the door lock and drew Thera inside, the space suddenly felt charged with possibility. She stood in the center of the room, luminous in the dim lighting, watching him with those devastating violet eyes. There's something you should know about Varani bonds, she said quietly. The first time we complete the connection physically, it becomes permanent, irreversible. Kellen sealed the door behind him, his pulse thundering. Permanent. Your implant will fully integrate with my biosignature. We'll be linked for the rest of our lives. She wrapped her arms around herself, a gesture of vulnerability that made his chest ache. If you have any doubts, Kellen, now is the time. I won't blame you for walking away. He crossed to her in 3 strides, catching her face in his hands. Thera, look at me. She did, and he saw fear there. Fear that he would reject her, that the bond she'd waited 3 days to verify would crumble before it could truly form. I've spent 6 months in the outer reach, he said. Cold, empty space with nothing but rock and silence. I came back expecting more of the same, just another empty station, another anonymous return. But you were here, waiting. half dead from exhaustion because you believe in something I didn't even know existed. His thumb stroked her cheekbones, and he felt her shiver through their connection. Maybe this is crazy. Maybe we should take months getting to know each other first. But I felt more alive in 3 days with you than I have in 3 years of running away from connection. Kellen, I choose this. He cut off her protest. I choose you. Bond, link, permanent. I don't care what word you use. I want it. Thera's control shattered. She surged against him, her mouth finding his with desperate hunger. Kellen responded in kind, his hand sliding into her hair as he backed her toward the sleeping alcove. Their connection blazed between them, feeding desire and emotion back and forth in an escalating loop. Tell me what you need, he murmured against her throat, feeling her pulse race beneath his lips. You. Her fingers worked at his jacket, tugging it off his shoulders. Just you? All of you. They shed clothes between kisses, learning the map of each other's bodies with hands and mouths. Thera's skin glowed brighter where he touched her, soft bioluminescence marking his path across her shoulders, her breasts, the curve of her hip. She made sound that vibrated through their bond, pleasure that he felt echo in his own nervous system, making him gasp. This is what it means, she whispered, pressing him down onto the bed and straddling his hips. Her hair fell around them like a curtain, and in the dim light, she looked otherworldly. When we bond fully, I'll feel everything you feel. Your pleasure becomes mine. Your pain becomes mine. Your joy, your fear, there are no secrets between bonded pairs. Kellen ran his hands up her thighs, watching her eyes darken. No secrets, he agreed. No walls. She lowered herself slowly, and when they finally joined, the bond exploded between them. Kellen cried out, overwhelmed by the double sensation, his pleasure and hers, feeding back in an endless loop. He felt what she felt. The stretch, the fullness, the exquisite rightness of their bodies fitting together. And she felt him. The tight heat, the desperate need, the way she drove him to the edge of control. Gods! Thera gasped, her hands braced on his chest as she began to move. Kellen, I can feel everything. I know. He gripped her hips, guiding their rhythm. I feel it too. I feel you. They moved together, finding a pace that satisfied both of them, because they were both of them, boundaries dissolving in pleasure. Kellen sat up, pulling her tight against him so he could feel her heartbeat against his chest, so he could capture her gasps against his mouth. She wrapped herself around him, and the intimacy of it, the complete vulnerability, was more profound than anything he'd ever experienced. I'm close, she whimpered. Kellen, please, let go. He thrust deeper, chasing the sensation that was building in them both. I've got you. I'll always have you. When she shattered, he felt her orgasm as if it were his own, waves of pleasure cascading through their shared connection. It triggered his own release, and for a moment they were completely one. Two bodies, two minds, one overwhelming sensation completion. They collapsed together, tangled and gasping. Kellen felt the bond settle into something new, deeper, permanent, exactly as Thera had warned. His implant had integrated fully with her biosignature. They were linked now in ways that went beyond the physical. No regrets, Thera asked softly, her fingers tracing patterns on his chest. Kellen kissed her forehead, pulling her closer. Not even one. She smiled against the skin. Good, because you're stuck with me now. Promise. For life, she confirmed. I'm yours and you're mine. The galaxy can't break that. Kellen closed his eyes, feeling her contentment mix with his own. For the first time in years, he wasn't alone. For the first time ever, he was home. For life, he echoed. I can live with that. Morning light filtered through the viewport, painting Thera's sleeping face in shades of amber. Kellen lay awake, mapping the rhythm of her breathing, feeling the steady thrum of her heartbeat through their bond. It was different now, deeper, richer, permanent. His implant displayed data he was still learning to interpret. Her REM patterns, stress levels, even the vague impressions of her dreams. It should have felt invasive. Instead, it felt natural, like discovering a sense he'd been missing all his life. Thera stirred, her eyes opening to find him watching her. Morning, she murmured, stretching languidly. Morning. He traced the luminescent patterns that dance across her skin, fainter now in daylight but still visible. How are you feeling? Bonded. She smiled, rolling the press against his side. Complete. A little hungry. Your thoughts are very loud this morning. Kellen laughed. Loud how? You're worrying about logistics. I can feel the questions circling in your mind. She propped herself up on one elbow, studying him. You're wondering how this works, where I'll live, what happens when your next contract comes through. The accuracy startled him. That's unsettling. Can you actually read my thoughts? Not thoughts exactly. More like emotional flavors, intentions. She considered. It's hard to explain to someone who hasn't lived with a bond before. But yes, I know you're worried about the practical aspect of us. Can you blame me? Kellen sat up, running a hand through his hair. I ship out again in 3 months. 6-month contract in the belt. Long-range mining operations don't exactly accommodate plus ones. Then I'm coming with you. He turned to stare at her. Thera, those ships are bare-bones operations. No comfort, no safety guarantees. The work is dangerous. And you think I'll just stay here? She sat up too, pulling the sheet around herself. Kellen, we're bonded now. Truly bonded. Do you understand what that means for my people? Separation causes physical pain. The longer we're apart, the worse it gets. Some bonded pairs who are forced apart have literally died from the separation. The information hit him like a physical blow. You didn't mention that part. I was hoping I wouldn't have to. Her hand found his, their fingers interlacing automatically. But if you're going back to the belt, I'm going with you. I'll find work, maintenance, cargo handling, whatever they need. I'm not losing you after just finding you. Kellen processed this, feeling her determination through their connection. The company won't like it. They have strict crew manifests. Then we make them understand. Thera's chin lifted stubbornly. Or you find a new company, one that recognizes bonded pairs. They exist, Kellen. Mining corporations that specifically hire Varani workers know about bonds. They accommodate them because bonded pairs are more stable, more reliable. We take care of each other. You've researched this? Of course I have. Did you think I waited 3 days at a transport station without a plan? She shifted closer, her expression softening. I know this is sudden. I know you're still adjusting. But I'm not asking you to give up your career. I'm asking you to let me be part of it. Kellen considered the years he'd spent alone in deep space, the isolation that had driven more than one miner to breakdown. Having Thera there, having her presence constant to a bond, it wouldn't just be bearable. It might actually be good. Okay, he said finally, we'll talk to the company. Together. If they won't accommodate us, I'll find someone who will. Relief flooded through their connection, and Thera kissed him hard. Thank you for choosing this, for choosing me. You make it sound like a sacrifice. He tucked her hair behind her ear. Thera, having you with me, that's not a burden. It's a gift. A chime from his comm interrupted the moment. Kellen reluctantly pulled away to check it, then froze. What is it? Thera asked, sensing his sudden tension. Message from Apex Mining. He read through the text, his eyes widening. They're offering me a new contract. 10 months instead of 6. Double pay. But there's a catch. It's deep belt work. High-risk zones. They need experienced miners willing to take on long-term isolation assignments. That's good. Thera ventured uncertainly. It would have been before. Kellen set down the comm, conflicted. It's the kind of contract that could set me up for early retirement. But 10 months? Thera, I can't ask you to. You're not asking. I'm telling. She grabbed his hand, pressing it to her chest so he could feel her heart racing. Feel that? That's not fear. That's excitement. Kellen, I've worked loading docks my entire adult life. I've dreamed of getting off the station, of seeing the belt, of actually doing something. This bond, it's not just about me following you. It's about us building something together. 10 months in deep space, he warned. It's brutal, dangerous. There's a reason they pay double. Then we'll be brutal together. Her smile turned fierce. I'm stronger than I look. And with the bond, we'll have an advantage other crews don't. We'll know when one of us is in trouble. We'll never truly be alone out there. Kellen felt the truth of it settling in his chest. She was right. The bond that seemed so strange 3 days ago had become his greatest asset. With Thera by his side, connected in ways no normal crew could manage, they wouldn't just survive the deep belt, they'd thrive. All right. He pulled her into his lap, wrapping his arms around her waist. But first we need to make this official. Register our bond with the station authorities. Get you cleared for off-world work permits. And he hesitated. We should contact your family. They deserve to know you bonded. Thera tensed slightly. They'll be shocked. Bonding with a human isn't exactly traditional. Screw tradition. Kellen kissed her temple. We're writing our own rules now. The galaxy doesn't recognize what we have. That's their loss. We know what this is. And what is it? Real. He turned her to face him, cradling her face in his hands. It's real and it's ours and it's unbreakable. They can call it biology or quantum resonance or whatever else they want. I call it love. Thera's eyes glistened. You love me? After 3 days? After 3 days of feeling your heartbeat with mine? Of knowing your thoughts and fears and hopes like they're my own? Kellen laughed softly. Thera, I've known you 3 days, but I feel like I've known you forever. So yeah, I love you. Completely. Impossibly. Permanently. I love you too, she whispered, and through their bond, he felt the absolute truth of it. I loved you the moment I felt our souls recognize each other. I loved you when I waited at that station, half dead but certain. I love you now, and I'll love you in 10 months when we're lost in the dark of the belt together. They kissed as the morning light grew stronger. Two souls bound in ways the galaxy was only beginning to understand. Outside, the station bustled with life. Ships arriving and departing, people pursuing their separate paths. But inside those modest quarters, Kellen and Thera had found something the universe couldn't offer and wouldn't break. A connection forged in selflessness, strengthened by choice, and sealed by a bond that transcended species, distance, and time itself. In the end, humanity had always been strange that way, forming connections strong enough to rewrite the rules. And this time, the rules bent first. 3 months later, the mining vessel Arcturus departed for the belt with a new addition to its crew manifest, one Thera, bonded mate and partner to Kellen Reeves. The galaxy had never seen a pairing quite like theirs. But then again, the galaxy had never truly understood the power of a bond formed in waiting, proven in trust, and claimed in love. The rules could bend, but what they had built together would never break. Claude is AI and can make mistakes. Please double-check responses. Sonnet 4.5 Claude is AI and can M.